Oh, look at that. God, still. I was a teacher for several years, and you just kind of sit there. They say, like, the less you say, the better, right? Thank you so much for everybody coming here today. My name is Scott Yansky, who's been sending you several emails, and I'm here with Youth Service America. And this is something I am extremely excited about, is being here today with some of the most amazing leaders across the country, with organizations that we just have the most profound respect for. And really, looking and sitting down here, it's about 2 months ago, I sat down with the team, and we looked around and we said, okay, where are we at in service learning? Where are we at in the field? And if we could put together a dream team of organizations that have a perspective in an area of expertise that could strengthen the field of service learning that is so dearly needed, who would it be? So we put together this list of organizations, reached out, and in one of those very rare moments, 100% responded with a yes. How often does that happen? But when you write the words service learning and you write the words youth empowerment, oh, we jump out of our seats. So our goal here today, we know you're champions. This is a group of champions. This is not, we're going to show some facts. We're going to show some most of the current research. We're going to try to catch you up to speed, just to make sure that this afternoon we have a really fresh perspective on the data. And of course, the best part, which they're going to go after me because I'm smarter than that, to not let them not go after them. But the students, the most important, are here today, and they're going to be talking about some of the amazing work that they're doing, and then we'll have a chance to really get together and pull our heads together. So a little bit here, we're going to talk about the state of service learning. Where are we at today? There's some great things happening, but there's also some challenges we're running into. We're going to talk about shifting the culture of service. What are some things we can do to shake it up a little bit? Because sometimes when it comes to where service and service learning is, we have to rethink it. Just like classrooms, when they were always sitting and facing forward, doesn't always look like that anymore, right? We have to think differently. And then student presentations, and then we'll have some feedback on that recognition program. So again, the most important thing I think at the end here is if we can really walk away. It's always good to have one walk away, feeling comfortable and confident in this recognition program, which we truly believe will be something that will help us take service learning to the next level. So, of course, I know all of you know a lot about service learning, but I'm going to go back for myself about 20 years ago when I didn't really know anything about service learning. Community service for me, which I absolutely love, and I think it's a great thing. It's a great on-ramp for service. Every student should have an opportunity to participate in a meaningful day of service, right? Well, community service, obviously we know it's more structured. It's something that will happen with a lot of adult planning. Sometimes youth will be involved, but it's mostly adults. And we know that it doesn't usually, at least from what we see, have a reflection component, which is so important. But it's also a gateway. Some of us can always think about, what was that first time you volunteered? For some of you, it might be why you're in the seat today, was because of that first volunteer opportunity that you had. So it sparked something in for you. But you take it to service learning and you're taking it to the next level, right? You're letting students be involved in all of the planning from beginning to end, right? You're letting core reflection, not just writing in a journal, but poetry, music, every kind of way that a student, Broderick's here, he played at the National Service Learning Summer Learning Conference, and wow, I wanted him to bring his guitar, he's so good. So, letting students find their passion and their way to reflect. You can be shy and lead a service learning project. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, it doesn't matter anything. Any student can lead a service learning project. So one of the things is we also see that academic incorporation, so being able to put that into the classroom curriculum. So when I first started teaching in Guadalupe, Arizona, I discovered this for the first time 20 years ago. And I said, oh my goodness, what is this? My students didn't want to show up for class. Now they're coming in and they're saying, let's go, right? So you've got your attendance, you've got your behavior. Students want to be in class. They want to be a part of it. They're feeling valued. And more importantly, when students come in, they're saying, hey, look, I feel connected to my community. I have a purpose. That doesn't always happen, does it? So I started using that in the classroom, and I said, you know what, I'm not quite ready, because it's hard to take that big jump. So what we did with students is we just said, let's see what we've done in the past and just try to improve it a little bit. Oh, we do canned food drives every single year. How can we make it better, right? Just asking students that simple question, put them in the lead, put them in control, and kind of started to wire them a little bit to, whoa, why is he listening to me on this one? To that point of, like the students you'll see today, I'm ready to lead, let's go, right? So that's what started happening. And I started getting excited, and I started teaching it, and I got excited, and I used this whole process of investigation and preparation and planning and reflection and demonstration, and I started to really study it and get to know it. Kathy Berger Kay had this book, Complete Guide to Service Learning. I would read that thing so many times, just beginning to end, beginning to end. I got excited, but here's the thing. I was the only person in my school using it. That was it. I got up in the morning, I'm like, you got to do this, you got to do it. Service learning, it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. And I kept doing it, and the kids kept getting up, coming to school. Well, the first year that I used it, I was looping with students, which means I was a 4th grade teacher and I was going to stay with them in 5th grade. Half of my students were undocumented. They were still trying to learn English. You know, we were trying to build up confidence and connection to community. But this number right here, it might look like just a random number to you, but that number was a powerful moment for me, because one day, as students were in PE, I go in to meet with a reading specialist because the students had just taken a benchmark test. This is around January time. We know that's go time in the classroom because you've got your end of the year assessments coming up. And the teacher looks at, the coach looks at me and keeps saying, I said, Jose, she keeps saying, Jose's at 47. Jose's at 47 and you're doing this service learning stuff. Jose's at 47 and you just keep, you know, pushing forward with service learning and integration. And I said, you got to be patient. Jose's getting there. He was 37 like 3 weeks ago. Let's be patient and go with the process. But they kept saying it to me, 47, 47, 47. And it kept going inside my ears. So I go back into the classroom and I look over at Jose and we start the lesson. And Jose, who had never participated before, first one to raise his hand, what do you think I do? I say 4. I almost called him 47. I said, excuse me, kids. I rushed into the bathroom. I had tears just rolling down my eyes. I looked myself in the mirror, this was 20 years ago, and I said, never again. I will never look at a kid as just a number. And I said to that day, service learning will be the path. That is my destiny. That is the thing I will focus on for the rest of my life. You know what? Jose did just fine. He passed that year. The next year, he got 87. That's not the story here. Jose had a purpose. Jose went to middle school and did well. Jose went to high school and college because he felt that he had a purpose to change. The problem is we've got millions of Jose's out there that are waking up this morning and saying, what's my purpose? Where's my adult champion? Who's going to fight for me? And so that's a big part of this conversation today. One of the reasons, and we're going to talk a little bit about kind of the history. I used to work at Learn and Serve. I used to run the portfolio out of Texas. That was back in 2011, okay? So 2011, I've been teaching for 8 years. I am like on a mission. I have transferred over to do Learn and Serve America, train teachers, train superintendents, drive around Texas. I had a barbecue app, so I was okay, big state. But all of a sudden, 2011, we had a $40 million program, and it's gone. We lost it. Everything that I was excited about across the country about service learning and the implementation, we had service learning coordinators, We had mini grants everywhere. Bam, gone. So since then, well, long story short, there was one job that was open at YSA 13 years ago. I applied, thank goodness Karen was on the hiring team, and I've been here ever since, still fighting for it. So at YSA, we're getting up, we're grinding, we're going, we're trying to do it. NYLC, you have so many great organizations doing powerful things in service learning. But here's the thing. Where are we at? What are the numbers showing us? Because the data is so important. We have to look at the data. What the data is telling us is that service learning, there is a major gap in access and equity. We can't hide from it. It's right there in front of us. And the gap, what it shows us, there's a few different studies, but you're anywhere between that 23 and 25% of students are volunteering. That means we're leaving out 3 out of 4 students in the volunteering process. And that's not good. Why is that not good? Because we know that if a student volunteers, it's going to spark something in them to get excited about the future. We know that some of the barriers are lack of opportunity, lack of knowledge and skills, lack of equitable access, and maybe lack of hope and connection. And that's where schools can provide that environment where students are spending most of their time to provide that for students. We also see that a lot of times, one of the major things, this is one of our studies from YSA, is that it's lacking of some staff to coordinate program activities. We also know that state tests and curriculum, completely understandable. And then we see lack of transportation as well. You're all going to get this PowerPoint. Here's the other thing that's happened. I love PBL and SEL. I think it's the most amazing thing. I used it in the classroom. I would be using it in the classroom today, and it is extremely needed. But the observation that we've made over the years is that PBL has been a replacement for service learning. And a lot of times what you'll hear when you go to places, they will say PBL, is a form of, service learning is a form of project-based learning. You could Google it now, that's what it'll tell you. I would say PBL is actually a form of service learning. And I think when you look at PBL and SEL, I was at your conference project, every single one of the vendors. I mean, you had like 200 vendors, PBL and SEL, PBL and SEL, which is great, right? Where's the service learning? It was back in 2011, you would see it places, but we don't see it anymore because we've kept things within the walls, within the school walls, because that's where we're comfortable and that's what's easier to manage. So the other part that you have to hear is that in this room, in this exact same room, 10 years ago, I met with representatives from 20 different countries. They were all educational leaders. Some of them were their secretary. Can you shut that off for me, please? This is in case anybody got lost. Right? So sorry about that. So we look at service learning around the world, right? So we had 20 different countries represented in this exact same room 10 years ago. Kid you not. You remember this, right? This is the State Department training. All of them said, oh, United States, you do this service learning so well. It's amazing. It's the best thing I've ever seen. Show me how to do it, Scott. Show me. I show them the process, right? Fast forward a few years, 3-4 years, I go back to those same people and I say, how's it going? You know what? It's going pretty well. We're starting some little things. We did some of that 2.0. We're gradually getting into it, okay? Kept doing the training every year. I've never missed a year except for one of the COVID years, right? Fast forward to after COVID. Fast forward to just this past year. I meet with 20 different countries just like every other year. What do you think they said? It shocked me. My heart was sinking. They said, oh, we're very good at this. Service learning. Oh, and this was like Argentina. This was in Europe. They said, we focus on the child as a whole. And it's our perspective, and this is the last 2 years they've said this. It's our understanding that in the United States, you're much more about like project-based, like scenarios, and making sure students understand what to do, but don't actually do it. This is what I'm hearing internationally, and it starts to get to you because we were there and we're drifting away to a version of students that are thinking differently. So we look at what are the issues that students care about. Number one issue is mental health. So we know, and we're going to get to Kathleen on that one in a little bit, right? We know that when you look at service learning, we know that mental health is number one. We also have race relations and racism, poverty, and environment. These two weren't even on the list 4 or 5 years ago. And mental health, it's not even close, skyrocketed to number one. Students want purpose, right? And if you're not giving them that purpose and you're keeping them within walls, it has an impact. So we also know we're still waiting on more data from Gen Alpha, but we know that it's definitely going to be the most diverse generation. They said that they want a career that helps save the planet. How exciting is that? And then they're all about acceptance, which is such a beautiful thing when you think about Gen Alpha and the way they look at things. We also know a little bit of weak civic efficacy across the country. 68% of youth, this is a new study from Youth Civic Empowerment, they want to help others. 44 say I can make a difference in my school, and 30% say I have helped change things for the better in my school. We're still kind of in that 25 to 30% range that we've always been in. So here's what I did before we kick things off with the students. Over the last year, you can tell I have a lot of energy, so I was able to do a lot of calls in a day. I met with over 120 students, parents, administrators, everything you can think of, right, and teachers, and talked to them about service learning. But what I did differently this time is I talked to a lot of teachers, students, service learning coordinators who didn't like it or didn't want to do it. Because to change it, we got to stop surrounding ourselves with the people that love it so much, and we got to talk to people and listen to what they have to say. So a lot of what I heard, go back, there we go, was we need to focus on their academic subjects. Completely understand, but you can link it with service learning. It's not easy to teach my students how to engage with critical thinking skills. We know that that's what you're doing at the beginning of a lesson if you're investigating. I don't have a budget to fund projects. You don't need money to do a meaningful project at all. These kids don't know anything beyond school and home. I mean, these are actual quotes that I heard. I mean, I almost hung up the phone on that one. It's hard to get my students to work nicely together. Well, collaboration to make community change is such a beautiful thing when you think about it. So these were some of the things that I heard from the teachers. And then as we started talking about service requirements, this is what's really changed, okay? So service requirements have now changed, community service requirements have changed names, and they've started calling a community service requirement a service learning requirement, and they've changed the name. In fact, in my hometown of Moose Lake, Minnesota, don't you know, where we have a community service requirement, it said in the paper, it said service learning, formerly known as community service. And why would you do that? That's the thinking. So here are some quotes, and I'm not making these up. This is what I wrote down. I'm not going to write who said it, though. Students will make up the hours. By far, the number one thing I heard is that, will you give students credit for investigation, for planning? Oh, no, we can't do that. They're just going to use ChatGPT, and then they're going to copy and paste it, and then they're going to say they planned it. That's what they're all saying. PBL is good enough. That was the second most popular thing that I heard. And that was from principals, actually. It was saying, look, we've got a lot going on, and I get it, totally understand. There's a lot of pressure, but to say PBL is good enough? Do you say that about your math curriculum? You know, this math curriculum, it's 15 years old, but it's good enough. Do you say that? No, right? Service learning hours give me anxiety. Who do you think that was from? Student. I heard it feels court ordered. I heard a lot of things like that. You know what I say? Either do a service learning requirement right, or don't do it at all. Because you got to do it the right way, and you have to send the right message to the students. I want a chance to lead. Of course, another student comment. I run out of things for students to do. That was actually a community partner who are getting inundated with a lot of projects at the end of the year and have no idea. You clean our trophies, mop the floors. They don't even know, right? So some of the solutions.
we're going to talk later. CDC, that was a game changer for me, Kathleen. I don't know if you're the one that wrote it. I feel like you are the one that wrote it. Your team did. CDC came out with some recommendations, and I almost dropped out of my chair when I saw this. Four school-connected interventions that led to declines in negative health behaviors. Right there, service learning opportunities. I can't thank you enough for that. That was a game changer. It's the happiest I've been. When I saw that, I couldn't believe it, because it gives us a lot of hope when we see that. And hopefully that will help frame our conversation today. We also talk about the U.S. Surgeon General has done a lot of work on this and talks about community-based activities are more likely to experience strong feelings of social belonging. That's important to us. Mental health, #1 crisis, but we've drifted away from service learning. Strategies, opportunities, skill-based, equitable systems, belonging, and mattering. You have a copy of this in here, and we can dive into this later, but here are some ways that we can advance establishing a national recognition program. I've thought through it, I've reflected, I've talked to everybody I possibly can. I think that is going to be a way for us to figure out who's who in the room. You got to figure out who's who in the room, and you got to thank them, right? Just like y'all got thank you cards this morning, you have to thank the people who are the leaders, thank the people who are stepping up. Embedded in education, I'm not trying to put any pressure. I know Department of Education, Superintendent Association, you have a lot going on, but trying to think of ways that we can do it in a practical way that isn't overwhelming for teachers. Health and well-being, of course, we just talked about that. School counselors as champions, my goodness, the school counselors that I've met over the years, they'll all bring you to tears. What they do, what they hear, they're such champions, and it's incredible. But they have a huge voice, and they are able to change policies. Engaging families, we have the national PTA here. You get the parents fired up about something, they won't stop. We know that, right? The parents, if they're fired up about service learning, they will get going. Leadership and skill development, Skills USA is one of the best at it, right? So being able to talk about what you brought to the table for so many years with your framework as well, for being able to look at skills and being ready for any career in the future. Looking at workforce connections, of course, we have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce here. I don't think there's ever been a partnership with U.S. Chamber of Commerce around this, but there should be, because we want stronger businesses, stronger communities, and students can help with that through service learning. Out of school opportunities, my goodness gracious. What's the percentage, Broderick, you're gonna have to throw out the numbers later, but of after school and summer school, what a beautiful opportunity to be able to integrate service learning. And of course, the rural and underserved communities, a huge issue. And we're so grateful to have Tyler here with your work with 4-H, your work with the USDA, and to be able to talk about how we make it accessible to everyone across the country. And if you've ever seen a gap, YSA will do a gap of grants that we give out. There's a huge gap of places that we could be supporting. So really quickly before we move and show, let the students, talk about their projects. So tracking hours, I am in talks with Google right now to try to provide a free framework for school districts. Remember accessibility. A lot of school districts have $100,000 a year, not a lot, but some do, to be able to track hours. I did it at a community college level as a service learning coordinator. Very expensive. We need to make a free, accessible way that they can track hours. A recognition program, and that's before we transition over to the students, we think that is the best way to be able to look across the country and say, all right, who's doing it right, and let's thank them for it. Because a thank you goes a long way, and I think a superintendent getting a thank you can go a long way, right? And being able to say, hey, look, you're standing up for your students, you're finding what's right, you're turning those 47s into 87s, and you're doing it in a patient way. So that's why we're here today, is to really get the group together. I think if we can have, you've got your 2-pager in there of the breakdown of this program. But I'll go back to when I started. There was a student that woke up this morning and said, what's my purpose? I don't matter. That's 3 out of 4 students are saying that. The recognition program, we believe, is one way. And I hope we can walk away today with more clarity, with your expertise, putting on that admin glasses. Oh, I love it. The 30,000, the critical, that everything you can possibly think, throw it at us, because we want this to work. Tyler's already thrown like 3 good ideas at me. So think about that student. Think about those students that have empowered. And then right now, be empowered, because we have students in the room. I've been to like 100 of these types of conversations. I think I've only been to like 1 or 2 where students were in the room. These are the champions. So these are some students that I work with. As far as Jeannie, do you want to explain the Maryland?
Sure. Hi, my name is Jeannie Massey. I work with the Maryland Civic Education Coalition, which was founded on the eve of the pandemic. And in, I guess it was the fall of 21, we started a youth advisory council that meets virtually online once a month, but also the students engage in a number of our other working groups. We've taken students down to the General Assembly in Annapolis. We've done some leadership programming, and our first in-person summit last year showcased a number of student projects at Crofton High School, where Alina and Marab go to high school. And these students self-select to participate in some amazing things. They are the ones who want to make the world a better place, who show up, who constantly ask for what can we do differently, what can we do better. So I'm really excited to hear what they have to say today.
Thank you, Jeannie. And so this is the Youth Advisory Council, but they're spread out across the state of Maryland. And they've got some great stories to talk to you about how service learning has changed their life. And wow, what an honor. These students, I'm telling, this is my volunteer. We all volunteer. I work with these students a few times a month. It's the highlight of my month is working with them. So with all further ado, you want to come on up? Just have them all come up. Power number.
So good morning, everyone. And first of all, I want to thank you guys so much for coming out here today. It's real awesome to be able to give you our perspective as high school students on how this is so important to us and is so important for really everyone in the nation, every student. So first, my name is Will, and myself, as well as the rest of the students here today, as we mentioned, are members of the Maryland Civic Education Coalition. All over the state, we represent so many different counties, and we're here to talk about how we're creating a culture of service and engaging in our service learning programs in our counties. So as I just mentioned, my name is Will Andrioni, and I'm a junior at Serena Park High School in Anne Arundel County. And I thought it would be best to start off by going into how Anne Arundel County and our culture of service is engaging students, and how myself, my classmates, and other students in Anne Arundel County are engaging in that culture of service. So we first have to look at motivations, how engagement. How are we engaging students? Because you don't have a service program if students are engaged in it. You really need to recognize that every person has some level of, I'll put this in quotations, selfish intent. What I mean by that is everyone has extrinsic motivations. Now, it may be a little, it may be a lot, but it's there in some form. But that's okay, because everyone has it. So we need to capitalize on that, really. And that comes down to recognizing students. We offer distinguished service awards. So if a student does 100, 150, 200, up to 400 hours of service learning, we give them an award. Now, if that does not get a student excited to go out and volunteer, the idea of they're going to get celebrated, I don't know what will. So that's one way we engage students. Another way is opportunities. We work with so many organizations, nonprofits, in a wide range of fields, in a wide range of topics that students would be interested in. No one person is going to be interested in the same thing as everyone else. So giving them a wide range of topics that they might want to work with in the future shows them, hey, this is going to benefit you. This is giving you that real world experience. So they're more likely, and they would want to go out there and engage because they see that they get that real world experience for when they leave high school. I'll use myself as an example really quickly on extrinsic. So over a year ago, I was presented with an opportunity to volunteer at a nonprofit. It's called Happy Helpers to the Homeless. And when I was told about that, and I always kick myself, but my first thought was, wow, some service hours would look good on a college resume. That was my first thought, but that's okay, because why? Service is sticky. And I'm going to use this analogy really quickly. I want you to think of a snowball at the top of a snowy hill. And extrinsic motivation is going to be this hand. And it's just going to push this snowball. And This powdered snow, this is passion. That's your passion for service. And as the snowball's rolling down the hill, now without the help of extrinsic motivation anymore, that snow is just sticking to it. It's just sticking to the snowball. The passion is sticking to you as you go. You just got to get your feet wet, and it's going to do it. It's going to work itself. You're going to gain your passion without any more extrinsic motivation. I mean, myself, my classmates, almost everyone I've talked to, once you get your feet wet, that's when you gain that passion. And that's what I've seen so many times. But finally, what do we learn from this? How are we learning from this service learning? Well, you reflect. Now, in Anne Arundel County, you go into a pretty deep reflection questions. What did you do? How did you help people? How did you help the community? And what did you learn socially? And what did you learn emotionally? Because that social and emotional learning aspect is so crucial for the development of service learning. And that's how we engage in service learning in Anne Arundel County.
All right, hello everyone, good morning. My name is Anissa Khalil. I am a junior from Baltimore County Public Schools. So we're going to go into how service learning impacts an individual kind of throughout the span of their lifetimes. So step one is really being informed. So as Scott was mentioning earlier, students really need to know that they do have these opportunities, whether that means starting in the classroom and continuing, say, in an extracurricular. That's really important to really inform the student that these opportunities are readily available throughout their time in high school and even beginning in middle and elementary school. So next, encouraging environments are really going to allow the student to have the capacity to expand their scope of service. So for example, with the Maryland Civic Education Coalition, in our Youth Advisory Council, we have students from across the state that are coming together each month, multiple times a month, to discuss the ways that they have impacted their communities through their own service projects. Now, this can really impact other students to feel kind of more of a drive to continue that forward into step three, which is community opportunities. So once students realize that they've had these opportunities that are really impacting others around them and also impacting themselves in relation to their mental health, they can actually create their own environments. So that kind of goes into the difference between project-based and service-based learning. So once students realize that there are youth that are able to create their own opportunities and that are able to engage a wider group of people just because they're in that youth demographic, this can really inspire them forward and kind of propel that dream of lifelong service and even wanting to get involved in a career in the future with service learning. And finally, the goals and reflection step kind of relates to how students are required at the state level to go over those reflection questions and to kind of think more deeply about their service. But kind of on a wider scale, when students are proposed with these questions, they actually do start to think, what are the ways that I can continue this lifelong? What are the ways that I can get involved maybe out of high school, maybe beginning in college? And what are the ways that I can inspire other students to do the same so that everybody is working towards that common goal?
Hello everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm from Anne Arundel County, and I'm here to share the personal story and what the importance of recognizing service learning is. So originally I grew up in Prince George's County, and so I went to a school that didn't necessarily emphasize service learning, and so like many other students, I developed a belief that it was seen as picking up trash or seen as a punishment for students who misbehave. And so it wasn't until I moved into Anne Arundel County where that perspective changed. I was exposed to a plethora of resources, and one being I got to work with students of different socioeconomic statuses, and that was really important for me because as someone who came from a low-income background, I didn't think I could make such a change. And so like seeing students who were in that same position and still being heavily involved in service, it was really eye-opening. And most of the time, people have this conception that in order to be successful in service, you have to have money and you have to have like certain resources. And yes, that is important, but what really is important is having a community and support and having people emphasizing and just motivating you through the process. And I think that was very inspirational.
Hello everyone, my name is is Jaden Page. I'm a senior at Sutherland High School in Anne Arundel County. In my county, I would say it's pretty easy to get involved in community service. My journey started out as a Boy Scout in elementary school, volunteering at different churches, fire stations, wherever we could help out really. But my love and passion for community service really flourished in high school. I started joining all these community service organizations, all these initiatives that were started by different clubs I was in. And these really helped me to discover my passion and love for community service. But later down the road, I want to get more heavily involved in community service, take on more behind the wheels type of role. So this led to me organizing and leading my own community service event, which was the Relay for Life fundraiser for a club at my school. This involved organizing the team members, making sure they knew what they were doing, and making sure that we had our own fundraiser booth so we could collect funds. In the end, we was able to raise over $200 for cancer research in patients, which I wouldn't say is the highlight of my community service journey, but it's helped me to see the importance of having that one person that has the time to dedicate the effort to the community, which can drive others to dedicate their own effort and time to the community as well.
So for more on that pipeline from passion to service and service to advocacy, we as students here have all participated in other advocacy projects that have kind of been spawned from our initial service projects. So this includes, first from passion to service, discovering ways to help others directly and finding ways to connect their hobbies to service. So an example of this would be if somebody has a hobby for teaching others math. So they may go to tutor other students after school or tutor others in the community who are struggling in their math class. And this, while it's not, on a large scale or, even county or statewide, the student is connecting their drive for that math and that educational skill to helping others. This enables them to connect their hobbies to service because they realize there are other ways that they can help others. So once they have helped that student in math, they may say to their other friends, oh, do you want to go help other students, maybe in elementary school, with English, with English speakers of other languages? So that can really propel forward kind of that call for a more diverse and equitable kind of standpoint on service and creating those opportunities that encompass wider demographics of youth. And then next from the pipeline from service to advocacy, we have bringing passion to policymakers. So once you have that passion for, say, creating, that club at your school that's going to help you raise money for cancer patients, you can bring that to policymakers. So in the coalition and with my personal experience, we have gone to the Maryland General Assembly and we've submitted testimony for those bills that will really further the opportunities that students have to begin kind of that initial involvement. So that can begin with the Maryland Seal for Civic Excellence, which is really a recognition program that is being designed and is in the works for multiple years now, with the goal of recognizing those students who have, been involved in those extracurriculars, who have taken those advanced placement courses, and kind of encouraging them to want to create more of those opportunities for others to contribute to service. So this may mean, more hours than required by the state of service learning. And then lastly, most of us in high school cannot vote yet. However, when we see that our vote will make a difference, when we see that service project makes us want to vote more, we may even become from a voter to becoming even a candidate. So this really kind of drives students forward into thinking, how can I take this passion, which started maybe in elementary school for me, and bring it forward throughout my life and create a lifelong career that's really dedicated to helping those other students succeed and helping your community thrive in places where maybe there's an underrepresented community and there's not enough funding to really help all those students in need. So that's kind of the main point, is creating your passion into advocacy and really helping others propel that goal throughout their lives as well.
Hello, my name is Alina Malik. I'm a current senior in the ACPS, and I'm going to be talking about how personally in enhancing students through curriculum and mentorship of service learning. So when I was in the classroom in my freshman year, I really didn't know that we had service learning integrated within our curriculum. And as a student that, like Jose, woke up every single day that really didn't have a purpose, felt so lost within their high school, didn't know what to be doing, what impact I had in this world. And having that teacher come up to me saying, hey, if you need help on a project, I can help kickstart it. What's your passion? What's your drive? I never had anyone ask me that before. All I got asked was, hey, here's a scenario. What would you do? Something just so surface level. That's why I advocate for social and emotional service learning, because if that teacher had not asked me, hey, what's your passion? What's your drive? How can I help you? I don't think I've become the change maker I am today. So specifically with my struggle with mental health, having that mentor, having that teacher tell me, hey, you are good enough. You can make an impact in this world, even without, her help. There are people out there to support you. You have your counselors, you have your parents. I remember my first ever service learning experience was going to my local mosque and helping with their food drive. And as a student, even at that young of age, I really didn't understand, why my parents, enhanced me with such values of service learning. But without, again, my parents supporting me, my teachers supporting me, they really taught me that, these experiences can teach you skills, they can teach you empathy, and can make you want to do so much more and, unravel that potential you have. I think every student has potential to go out and make a change. And all that you need to drive that student forward is just a voice saying, hey, you can do this. You don't need that, fancy grant, even though money is helpful. You don't need all of, that time. You just need that passion, and that passion can drive you so, forward into the future and becoming the change maker of tomorrow. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Gabrielle. I go to Aberdeen High, and I'm a junior in Harford County. And one thing that makes service learning different in Harford County is how it's implemented in our schools. So currently, it's implemented like you have service learning about in 2 to 3 classes in just one class throughout the entire year. And while many of these projects can be beneficial, they're often very limited just to the short time constraint that they have to implement these projects. And so this program would recognize and emphasize schools that integrate service learning into curriculum. And this would integrate it throughout the year, so it would offer a broader range of possible service projects that schools can do. And additionally, it makes it more accessible to a broader range of students throughout the school. This also ties into long-term impact. So currently, mostly it's only teachers planning these service projects. However, this program would emphasize and allow students to be more of the planners, of people who plan, budget, and recruit for these service learning projects. And these types of projects, they can take a long time and a lot of hard work. But this program would recognize those students and reward them for all the stuff that they do to better their community. And so our hope is that this would result in more long-term projects benefiting our community for a long time.
Hello everyone, I am Kinsley Potts and I'm a 10th grader at Garrison Forest School. And similar to everyone here, service is such a huge important part of my life. And over the years I've been actually participating in service, I observed that there's so many youth out there that want to make a positive impact in their communities. They just don't know where to start. Or they're scared in actually proposing an idea or a project in fear of making mistakes or not making a difference at all, because they don't value their importance and the actual impact that their voice can make. That is why it's super important to me that teachers must trust students with opportunities and give them the time and the space to grow into the leaders that they are through service and service learning. Going along with that, passion and trust really go hand in hand, especially in service. With passion, that's really the drive to having action and commitment to these certain projects and events that these students will be carrying out. And with that, it'll also help them discover their key strengths, their development of leadership skills. Personally, for me, I have a love for animals, I always have, and I actually volunteer at the Baltimore Humane Society, a nonprofit animal shelter that runs completely off of donations in Baltimore County. And as an ambassador for them, I get to actually speak to store managers and ask to put donation boxes in their stores. I get to go to certain events and advocate for, people to adopt, #adopt-no-shop. And that's really important to me, and that right there has really transferred to my passion of wanting to become a zoologist one day and being on a board, really advocating for our environment that not only is here for us, but also animals. And that right there, I don't think I would have ever thought of that path in life if it wasn't for service and service learning. And that's what makes it so special, because it helps you develop really a mindset, especially for students, that embraces challenges and processes as a place of growth, not only for your community, but also yourself as an individual, and develops your ability to adapt, improve, persevere, and really connect with others, which is something I struggled with when I first moved to Maryland. I was in second grade. I moved all the way from Georgia, didn't know Maryland was a state. I came up here, and one of the first things I did was actually do a food drive for my community, the Maryland Food Bank. And I went out, and I was like, I'm making a difference. I have a place here. I belong in this community, even though I wasn't born here and I lived just 16 hours away. I have a place and a purpose, and that right there was just something that was so important to me. And going to school and having a teacher say that to you, a parent, a guardian, it can come really from anyone, having them trust you and really show you that your abilities and your ideas are valued and have an importance and can make an impact, gives you so much confidence. Just having that support there really makes a difference, more than you really could ever think of. And that's why having that trust and passion going into a community really fosters an environment where you can have energy, creativity, and really develop those leadership skills for the next future leaders of tomorrow.
Hello everyone, my name is Mira Malik. I go to Crofton High School in Anne Arundel County, and I want to give a personal testimony on how service actually gave me confidence and helped me do better in school. I know I was like a Jose. I was struggling in school since middle school, elementary school, and teachers didn't know what to do with me. They're like, oh, she's like struggling, like she never raises her hand. She's always in the back corner, like, what do we do with her? Like, we stick her in a group of people and she's not even talking, because I was so scared that, my voice, if I raised my voice in a group, it would be crushed, because people were always louder than me. And that's how I went through majority of elementary school and middle school until I went to Crofton High School, and I saw people around me doing service. And I was like, what is the purpose of service? Like, why are people going out of their way to go to food pantries, to go to these community events? Until I actually went on a field trip to a local food pantry, and I saw that there were so many problems with my own community. And as a person that comes from a low income family, seeing that there were other families like me opened my eyes to see that there were opportunities and resources that my family could go to. And that really opened my eyes, because I always felt so alone. I always felt like there was no one going through the same struggle as my family. There was always like other people. However, going to that food pantry gave me the voice and gave me the passion to, you know what, I'm actually going to raise my voice. I'm going to be passionate about, the low-income population in my school, people who don't know that these are resources out there. And service, and going back to my service liaison in Crofton High School, saying all this stuff, she was like, Mira, you can make a difference. That motivation was so eye-opening, because a teacher's never said that to me. A teacher was like, Mira, you don't say anything at all. So like that one teacher, that one sentence that she said to me, what gave me that motivation and actually helped me. You know, I have a talent of sewing, and since middle school, you know, I was really good at sewing. But that teacher would say, "Hey, Mira, you can take your passion and that you never thought could make a career, or you didn't think that could do anything, but that talent you can relate that to service." That gave me the motivation to start my own club and start doing projects with sewing, you know, sewing blankets to give out to children who need it. And I didn't even need any money for that. My teacher encouraged me to do a drive, and I did it. And people gave me fabric, gave me everything, and that became my passion. And I continue to do that, and I continue to teach other people that your talent can be related to service learning. And with that, people gave me so many opportunities for grants, even though you don't need money. But it actually really helped me because I was like, I didn't even know that grants were a thing. I didn't even know that there are people in this world that will actually encourage you to make a change in this world. So I think that service really helped me, give me the voice and give me the passion to make a change in my world, in my community.
Hi, my name is Gia Patel, and I'm a student in Anne Arundel County, and I wanted to touch base on the commitment to underserved communities present in my county. And they're working with a bunch of communities. I have seen characteristics ranging from people that are at risk for certain health conditions to people who are suffering from financial instability and limited opportunities for education and even housing. However, an individual, I feel like, can progress their knowledge and their commitment to these communities by recognizing their own home environments. And that can be and then they can complete service activities with their family, close guardians, and even close friends. And that will enable them to gain an understanding and communication and access to these communities. In Anne Arundel County, there are two main organizations that I have personally, I've worked with one of them, and the other one I've gained a knowledge through the Anne Arundel County Service Learning Portal from, and one of them is Food for Thought, and this is an organization that focuses on combating homelessness within our county and Sarah's House, which it also combats homelessness, but they also help individuals suffering from domestic violence and mental health, which I feel like is really important. And something unique from both of these organizations is how our own Anne Arundel County Public School students, they utilize these resources, which it's a really sad fact, but it's also really unique where we can connect with them on a personal basis. And with this commitment to underserved communities, we also want to be able to address the fear that some of these communities have. They do have a fear that these organizations and this help that they're gaining from not just adults but from students, that these outside organizations will not be able to help them long term. However, we're able to build that trust through recognizing our home environment and then implementing service activities within our family and our close friends and guardians that we have in order to gain an understanding, and that will help us build our trust.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Xander Hine, and I'm a junior in Washington County Public Schools over there in Western Maryland. So in my county and the counties west of me, the focus is not really on service learning. In fact, our curriculum only offers 15 hours in 8th grade. So after 8th grade, a lot of students tend to put off all their service learning hours until like senior year or like the end of their high school career. In fact, I have two friends. One of them was named Jose, and he had 20 hours in the last month before his graduation. So I'm on the board of a few nonprofits. So he came to me and he was like, "Do you have any volunteer opportunities?" I was like, Of course I do. I've been waiting for everyone to ask me that." I'm like, "We need volunteers," and I've been waiting for people. So I'm like, "Yes, we have hours." So he came in on Saturdays with our nonprofits, and he worked with us to get those hours and to help the underserved community. Another thing in Western Maryland, we are higher poverty over there than the eastern counties, and there's also a lot of food insecurity, homelessness, and the city in which I reside in, Hagerstown, is actually a food desert, which means there's not like a large amount of like healthy food options and like supermarkets around that area. And also like a lot of the students are unaware of the organizations. So just because I'm a close friend of Jose, he knew that I was involved in that. That's why he came to me. But a lot of students don't know where to go to get their hours. So like I think we need more advocation for like through the schools and through like social media about the organizations that can help students get those powers. I'd like to share a personal anecdote of one of my first times volunteering. Was with an organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. They're a nationwide organization, but they have a local chapter around where I live. And what they do is they build beds for people who need them. They go online to our application, they apply, we bring them a free bed, we build it in their house, and then we make it for them. So this family, they ordered a bunk bed and a normal bed for their 3 kids. We walked in, it was a two-room apartment, and they had one mattress on the floor, and there was 2 adults and 3 kids all sleeping on the same mattress. And it was earth-shattering for me. I was like, wow, I've never seen this level of like poverty before. But we finished making the beds, and we got the kids on their beds, and they were super excited. But the boy was a little bit more excited than everyone else. So when we asked the parents why he was so excited, turns out it was his 4th birthday. So we didn't know that, like, it was just a random schedule. But that was one of the most like life-changing moments for me. That's why I got so committed to service and like helping the community. So I think if we get more students to have that sort of like changing, life-altering like moment, like, oh, I'm really helping someone that like they didn't reach out, but they need this help. So I think if we implement it into like earlier high school, that we can really make a difference.
So hi everyone, my name is Alessia Cuba and I'm currently a junior at Urbana High School. So I prompt you to imagine this. There's a student in a community who witnesses a problem that does not sit right with them. And instead of waiting for somebody else to do something about it, they decide to be that change and initiate an initiative. For example, they could witness a problem such as food insecurity or mental health stigma or even a lack of educational resources. But being the powerful student that they are and wanting to be a leader in their community, they decide to organize a food drive or do something as starting a peer support program, for example, or really try to design an after-school tutoring program for their peers. And so these efforts don't just address immediate needs, but rather they're building bridges between individuals and empowering the community. And they're really igniting a cycle of systematic change. So I've been able to experience this firsthand, and I feel very grateful for this. I've identified immense food waste in school cafeterias, for example, and I've really worked to fund and launch composting programs in schools both statewide, nationally, and recently internationally. And this has been a problem that has really touched my heart. But I've learned a lot from my service learning opportunities. For example, up here we can see a photo of me working with some elementary age students and teaching them the importance of sustainability and why they should be reducing food waste in cafeterias by composting and saving any unfinished food products and putting it in a mini refrigerator, for example, that can then be donated to an underserved community that is food insecure and can be given to a food bank and therefore feeding those who don't usually have the means to do so by themselves with their own paychecks. And so that's something that really did touch my heart. And I feel very grateful because I've been able to also dive more into the concept of flourishing and flourishing communities. So this is a term that refers to a community with good social and emotional relationships. And it's actually a goal that has been trying to be pushed forward nationwide, pushing forward these flourishing communities. And so something that has really been setting back the achievement of this goal is the fact that research has consistently showed that students from low-income backgrounds and communities of color are being disproportionately represented and are being really affected by these systematic challenges like underfunded schools, health disparities, and food insecurity. Yet, we have seen that when these students are given tools to lead, they often create some of the most innovative and impactful solutions. Students who lead initiatives like mine, for example, with the composting, have been able to really create lasting change. So let's consider teenagers who, for example, start a project such as school supply drives in a high poverty district. This initiative does more than just providing resources. It really does reinforce the message that these students believe that education matters, and we should be recognizing and valuing them. We should think of the fact that peer mentorship programs, for example, created by high schoolers in the community with high dropout rates would push forward the fact that they really do care about their community and that they're working towards creating change for those around them.
Back on connecting it to flourishing communities, we have seen that students from these low-income backgrounds are experiencing negative childhood experiences. And this is something that can really become an issue because if we're seeing these negative childhood experiences not being addressed, then later on they can create problems within mental health and other areas of their life. But something that can really combat this is positive childhood experiences, or PCEs. These can include feeling like they have a sense of belonging, like a sense of community, somewhere where they can turn, where they feel safe and heard. And we have seen that initiatives such as student-led projects have been able to provide these feelings of belonging, because when you're working with a group towards a goal such as bettering your community, you feel like you have a set of friends, a set of people who you can come to and turn to when you're feeling down. You feel like you're working towards something that's bigger than yourself, and it's really something that can stick with you through your life and motivate you to continue doing activities such as service learning. And so something that I wanted to bring attention to is the fact that we're seeing a lot of students wanting to initiate this change because it's a problem that has personally been related to them, or something that they have been able to connect to and experience in their life. For example, right here, we have a picture of a bunch of students, including myself, who noticed that in their communities, there was a really high use of vape products or drugs or narcotic products. And this is something that they did not want to see. And so they rallied together to really host workshops within their communities, within their schools, within their counties, and educate others on why it's not a good idea to use vape products or narcotics. And so we're seeing that all these students, through their planning, through the work that they did in hosting these in-person touch points, they really are dedicating a lot of their time. So we should be valuing and recognizing this as a society to make sure that these students feel motivated to continue doing this work. And so just to really bring it all back together, kind of wrap up this slide, we should be working towards bridging these divides and really motivating people to continue the work that they have been doing towards positive change, and motivating them by recognizing their efforts as a collective society.
Thank you guys.
Here, so I just started to thank this group because they're really just an incredible group of students. And one thing you'll notice from when they were talking, it wasn't just about one project that everyone has to do or one curriculum you have to use. How many times in DC do we come to these meetings and it's like this new one way to do it? That's not what it is. They're talking about purpose, being involved in the process. So we can have a little time for Q&A later. Or, we started a little late, which is DC typical, right? What we're going to be doing here is we have a few students that are going to be sticking around because we want to make sure we have some youth voice. But we also have Jeannie back there is going to be working with some students because they have some policies to change, right? They're trying to get a civic seals bill passed this year. They're moving forward with it. You just watch. We will send you that update later. They are confident, and I know they can do it. So they're going to be going over to do their strategic planning. We have 3 or 4 students staying in here, okay? So really just want to thank this group of students for your leadership, your expertise, what you bring to the community. I think just lifts us all up, and I think it's just a great way to kickstart this second half strategy session. And for everyone who is live streaming, thank you so much. The second part is going to be a little, more of a closed session here, but we are just so grateful to all of you, and thanks again. Here's what we're going to do. We can do